Hi, we have Josh with us today. Josh is with Rome. With Rome is a company that helps clients assume mortgages. So we're working on an offer now with one of my listings, and I'm gonna go ahead and let him take over and tell you what his company does and how they can help our clients.
Hey, I appreciate the introduction there. Thank you very much. And then can you all see my screen right now?
We can.
All right, perfect. So yeah, and thank you. So Josh again, and then the company is Rome, and then the website's actually withrome.com. And so we actually think of us as a transaction coordinator for any kind of assumption or any kind of assumption deal that's out there.
Mm.
And so what we'll go over today is just basically what an assumption is, and then how you all can use that to help both your listings and then your buyers as well. Okay. And then
Okay.
feel free, questions along the way, just go ahead and jump in whenever you guys want, raise your hand or just go ahead and interrupt me. It's totally fine. All right. So overall, right, think of an assumption almost as a transfer of the mortgage during the purchase of the home, right? So think of it that when a buyer wants to purchase like any home that has a VA or an FHA mortgage, they're able to purchase the home, and then on the same day as closing, when they take over the ownership of the home, they're also going to have the mortgage, the same exact one that's in existence right now, is going to be transferred to them, and then the principal balance, right? I guess like the remaining balance on it, the time left to pay it off or the years left to pay it off. And then the very important thing is the interest rate goes over with it too, right? So if you can find a VA home loan that's at 2.5%, you can purchase that home and then take over the mortgage at 2.5%. So Rome's real job is to help facilitate these assumptions because there's something that has been around since the 80s, right? But they have not been used in probably 30 years or so. And so Rome is like modernizing the assumption process. And
I have
so
a question.
go right ahead.
I have a question. So when they take over that month's payment, normally there's like a month waiting period before they have to make that first payment. Do they still make that November payment, December payment, or do they get to skip? If they close in October, do they get to skip November?
Yeah, if they closed in October, they would most likely make like the next month's payment. Does that make sense? So whenever that would be, and they can also, for the most part, they will be able to they could work with the mortgage company as to when that payment date is each month too.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's I would say like 99% of the time. I think one was a stickler about it. So
Yeah,
all
each
right.
each lender is different in what they require.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And all of
Um,
it don't have to be made on the first of the month.
I think it's either. I don't want to speak out, but I think that they can like adjust it, like if they wanted the 15th or the first in some cases, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Um, and then okay, so then which loans are like eligible or who is eligible for these things, right? So any mortgage that's a VA mortgage or an FHA mortgage, essentially by law, right, or it's already written into the mortgage this way, that the assumption is a possibility, right? And that whatever servicer has this mortgage, they actually legally have to process any request for assumption as well. And then number two there, liability is always a question, right? It's always, hey, after the sale of the home, is there any connection with the mortgage to the previous owner? And there is not, right? So all liability is gone from the original owner, and it's all transferred over to the current buyer. And then how much does it cost? For the seller side of this, there is no cost to the seller whatsoever for kind of using, or having Rome in the services or helping out to process everything. They do not pay anything, and their proceeds are not affected by this at all. And so Rome is going to be the one that will help out. Like the buyer is traditionally the one that pays us, right? And it's 1% of the purchase price. And then we help everyone in the transaction to actually get the assumption completed. Usually on the seller side, the only like lift for them, right, is just going to be one phone call with me and to the mortgage company, and we're just going to make them very aware of the sale and then become an authorized third party to the loan, so we can take over all the communication, and then we take over paperwork, and then really we're walking the buyer through submission or through requesting, submission, and then getting approved for the assumption. And we'll go into some more details on that as we go. All right. Any other questions right now?
Not for me.
Perfect. And then so just, some of the benefits to review about like for the benefits of the assumption for sellers. It's funny that we put this number one, but Rome as the coordinator, right? I do think that us stepping in and being able to take so much work off of the buyer, the seller, as well as the agents here, and then also just be the expert, right? If anything happens during the transaction with the assumption, Rome's probably already handled it one or a few times, and so we can be that expert for you along the way. And appraisal's not necessary with this because there is not a new loan, right, or a new mortgage being formed. It's just going to be transferred, so that's not necessary. And then again, there is a full release of the seller's liability at closing. And then another part that Rome has really crafted well here is that it's going to be 45-day closings, and then we guarantee that. And so I would say traditionally the assumptions are going to take like 3 to 6 months, or if people were to call and ask how long it takes, they say 3 to 6 months. And so Rome, when we first opened, it was 90 days, got it down to 60. Now we're at 45. We've built relationships with many of the servicers. Like our process has just gotten better as well. So from the time that the contract is signed to closing should be 45 days or less. I would say usually it's like 40 days for the approval of the assumption, and then we're just closing for those last few days there. Right. And then these are just some common misconceptions that you may have heard about assumptions, or maybe some horror stories about like someone that tried to do an assumption before. Again, Rome, like we are here to modernize this process, and we have, right? So again, the top thing is that liability. Hey, like when someone takes over my mortgage, am I still going to have any kind of connection to it? And you will not. As the seller, it is totally to the buyer at the day of closing. And then the last two are really just about time, right? There's assumptions are a myth. They never get done. I've never heard of these things. And I can tell you right now, 100% guarantee you that these things do work. We have built a whole business off of it, and my paycheck is very dependent on this. So I guarantee it for you guys. The mortgage assumptions taking a long time is a thing of the past, right? Rome, 45 days closing, and it's a guarantee from us as well. So there is no long waits or anything like that. We will also, usually with most offers for assumption, we will attach the 45-day closing to let everyone know about it. And then these are just, like obviously like when you're able to offer something like a 2.5% mortgage, or you're able to, give them a gift of something like that, right? We have seen increase in offers because of this, right? Or if there's any kind of competition or something like that. So like listing the home with the assumption in the title or in the description, letting them know that this is a whole option will create a whole new pool of buyers for your listings, as well as potentially higher offers because of this extra that you're able to attach to it, right? No one else can offer a 2.5 mortgage in the market right now. And this is a little side note for me, but I do think, man, there is such a feel good for a seller to be able to hand a mortgage off to a buyer like this. I know it's money, it's business, it's a big transaction, but man, just be able to give someone like, hey, here's 25 years of not having to stress about your mortgage. I think there is a feel good there too for the sellers, and I always want to recognize that too.
Mhm.
All right, and then any kind of questions, any general things on the assumptions right now? I was going to get into more of the types of mortgages and maybe some of those qualifications.
Josh, I'm just going to listen because I did have a seller. We were unable to sell the home, and she had a great interest rate, but I'm just, it's an assumable loan, but I'm not really sure if it will really benefit because I think she may have been a little bit upside down. But I'm going to just listen and see, if there's any benefit that would have been great to be offered to the buyer, because she still wants to get out of the home.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And we can even, we can kind of get into that individually too after this if you'd like. So so now there's so this might help too. Like there's two types of loans, right? Like, as long as the seller has either a VA or an FHA, then the assumption is possible. Okay. So the FHA, so they do not have to meet the, like the buyer, right, does not have to meet the original requirements of the loan. So for instance, they don't have to be a first-time home buyer. They don't have to be a veteran. Okay. So, and they can still assume those loans. On the FHA side, the big qualification is that there's a residency requirement. Okay. You have to buy the home. You have to move in within the first 30 to 45 days. And then live in the home as your primary residence for 12 months for the first year. All right. And then after that, you can do whatever you want with this home. If you wanted to rent this home out, if you want to make it an Airbnb, totally fine, whatever you want to do. If you wanted to, if you live in the home, like it's a 3-bedroom home, you live in the home and then you wanted to rent out the other 2 bedrooms during the first year, you can do that. You just have to be the primary resident. You have to be living in that home. And then, so that's all FHA. Now, VA home loans. VA does not have the residency requirement. This is more, I would call it the investor path, if you will. They can purchase this home. They can rent it out the very next day, you know, or the same day, I guess. So it's very, very open. Now, there's a few things that come up with VA home loans. It's a little more complicated, and that's this screen. It's a lot of detail here, but I'm going to go over all of it right now. Let's say that I'm the veteran who's selling my house, and then you all would like to assume my loan, right? But none of you are veterans. And if you are, I appreciate your service, and I apologize for calling it for saying that. But then, so if I have, let's say I have a loan, it's $200,000 left on it, and then you make an offer to purchase. So the very first thing is I have to like your offer, right? So obviously, like the numbers have to be there. But then after that, a consideration as a veteran who has a non-veteran looking to assume my loan is that if I allow it to happen, then I will have $200,000 of my benefit or of my entitlement, right? The amount of money I have to use for my VA. It'll be $200,000 would be, they would be temporarily like reduced by $200,000. So if I need that money to like buy the next home, then that deal's not going to work with the non-veteran, right? So sometimes those are quick no's. But I'm surprised at how often it actually happens. A bunch of different scenarios, but in the case of the veteran moving out of the country, a lot of times they're selling the home. Sometimes they already have a house and they don't need it. They're not planning on purchasing a new one. And then also, unfortunately, in the case of just, you know, a deceased veteran as well, right? They're not going to, there isn't necessarily those benefits to lose there. So all those things equal like an opportunity for them to use the assumption to open it up to more buyers as well. And then what's nice, right? Like once they hand it over, then again, like everything is the same. Like it's just like a regular VA loan to anybody. And then like the owner of the home is able to rent that one out whenever they would like to. So VA loans, they're a little more complicated, right? There's a little more to them, but usually if the veteran's open to a non-vet and then they like the offer, everything should work just like usual. It's just that one extra hurdle there for the VAs. About 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting, and I think it was almost like 23% of our transactions are vet to non-veteran on the VA side. So it does happen, right? It's just kind of a rarity. Let me see here. Deeper. A little bit deeper into this. Let's say that same veteran with the 200,000, if I had my max benefit, right, which would be about $750,000 if I think it's right around there, maybe a little higher now. And then I allow someone to assume my loan for 200,000, right? I still have $550,000 in benefit to use. So if the veteran, right, if I served for a long time, I'm living in an expensive zip code right now, he or she may have a very high limit. So it's very individual based on the veteran. So usually the agent or myself is going to talk to this listing agent or the owner fairly early in this transaction or in the even like pre-offer stage, just to have this same conversation and review it with them. Usually I'm going to have this conversation and then say, hey guys, definitely recommend that you call the VA, talk to them about your individual benefits, and then let's have another conversation in a few days, something like that. That was a lot. Any questions on the VA part or the FHA part? All right. Great. All right, and then let's see here. Okay, and then so this is like, so we were kind of focused on the listing portion of this, and right now we have I would call it like an agent promotion, really, where if if any agent out there has a VA or an FHA listing, so to speak, and then they update the listing to include Rome in the title, we would we would send 250 as a promotion, and then if you actually refer the buyer over to us, then another $750 as well. And so promoting the assumption, promoting Rome as a way to like get through the assumption and like, you know, refer people over to us. We also have ways to help with an agent promotion right now as well. All right. And then we're gonna switch over to like the buyer side of this. Any questions on like listing or anything like that as far as like with an assumption or how that can help your sellers right now?
I have a question. Do you have also farm and ranch properties, or is it just single family homes?
So it's I don't think I have not seen like like a farm or a ranch property on there, right? So I don't think it's I'm not sure if it's like not possible or what it is, but we haven't had them listed on the site. Uh, I would say the only limitation, so if a home is a VA or an FHA, right, and it's listed on the MLS, it'll automatically show up on our site. And then also owners can come to us and like list their homes as well, right? So but I haven't seen any like ranch, any different kind of home like that's popped up, at least in Texas. And so I'm not sure if that's just a lack of like FHA's you know, and VA loans on those or what that is.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
but like for instance, I would say that there are every once in a while a duplex, right, or a triplex pops up in there, something like that will pop up. Apartments, condos, all those type of things are on there. They're just few and far between.
you.
Good questions though. All right, and so this is more like on the buyer side, right? Like if you have any buyers that are out there and then they want to and then they're looking for like really a great deal, right? You can use withrome.com. You can go right to the listings page. You can search it. We have the only searchable listings map for assumptions out there right now. And so you could literally like highlight the area they're looking in and then just start picking off the homes and see which one looks best to them. So usually that's how buyers find us, is through the web, or an agent will bring them to our website. And then from there, as soon as they find a home, right, that's usually when I would love to talk to them. If they're in Texas and you have a buyer who found a home on our site, I would love to talk to them, have a very informative call about assumptions, how the process works, right? And then, you know, work with, you know, partner with you as the agent, obviously, to help, you know, with the touring, help with the offering, and then get you through that assumption part, right? So this is kind of highlighting how to go through the buyer side with us. I would say that from like submitting the offer, right? Like usually with Rome, they're going to tour it with the agent. Then there's usually some kind of conversation with the listing agent and myself, like right when you're thinking about offering, unless they're super educated on an assumption. I usually reach out and just touch bases with them. And this is really just to highlight that, hey, this is what Rome does for, you know, for you and for the buyer. And it's just like what I was saying before about, hey, you know, we're going to walk you through the whole process. There's only one phone call for the seller. And then Rome takes care of any kind of issues with the assumption along the way. And also, right, any questions, you know, or if they don't believe that their home is assumable, I can definitely talk to them about that. So many times when you first mention the word assumption to a listing agent, they might have no idea what it is, or they heard about it and they don't want to deal with it. So they might just say no. That's where I can step in and try to give them a call just to touch bases and explain things. We can lead with an offer and kind of open them up to asking some questions. There's all kinds of different methods that we have to kind of open them up to it.
Josh,
Um,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Does the home have to be listed?
It does not have to be listed, actually. No, it does not. It can be like, it can be a pocket listing. It can be like a private one. Yeah, like as long it just has to be assumable for us to like help them out. So if it's FHA or VA, usually if it's not listed, like I would love to see a mortgage statement or confirm like, that it is an FHA or VA and then see who that servicer is. But we can definitely help them out.
Okay, then yeah, we probably need to talk a little bit about that because, like I said, I had a previous client, they still want the home sold.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can definitely help you out with that. Yeah, after this, I'll get your contact information and we can definitely set that up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, and then when this is nice too, any buyer that comes to Rome, right? We make sure that they're pre-qualified, and also when they're getting ready to like when we're prepping them and getting them ready for the assumption, we also have them get their financial documents in order, right? We even take a look and make sure that everything looks good as far as when they're going to submit the packet. So we make sure that our buyers are prepared for the assumption and also that they are like financially like already ready, have the down payment, right? They already know it's cash or they have it financed. They have good credit. Like we look at all these things with each buyer that comes to us, especially as they get closer to making those offers. And then, as always, and I'm sure agents, you all are very familiar with this, right? Real estate, the value is a long game, but with the assumption, there is such a huge value to just seeing like the monthly payments, doing that math for the client and showing them, hey, if you buy it traditionally, this is what you get. If you do this with an assumption, you're going to save thousands every month, right? I mean, basically what it comes down to. Like, trust me, it's insane when you start really working that math out. You go from a $2,000 a month to maybe $1,200 and you get a house for it. It's mind blowing. So it's great, but definitely do that math for them. Not everyone wants to do it. And then, again, Rome, we have the closing guarantee. To go into detail of it, if we hit the 46th day and from there on, Rome actually would reimburse the seller for any mortgage payments they have to make, right? So like we are not messing around with this guarantee. We do not like to use it, right? Because we want to hit it. We want to hit 40 days every time. And I think for myself, I think I've been here 2 years. One time we had an issue and it was more of the forms not being filled out correctly is really what it came down to. So, I mean, we're very good at it. And when submitting offers for assumption, I would always review this with the agent. Hey, I know you've heard bad things. I know everyone says it takes forever. This piece of paper right here guarantees 45 days and it's signed by the company. Something like that is a very powerful statement and it definitely works, definitely helps. Okay. Perfect. And then usually like at some point from when you're touring to when the offer is made, right? I would love to talk to that listing agent in some way, or Rome would love to help you out and have a discussion with that listing agent just about, hey, who we are, what we do. If the owner wants to talk to us, no problem. We would love to talk to them. The more those conversations, the better. Every transaction gets smoother the more of those conversations I have. So, and then also, and I think this is kind of key too. Hey, if someone just came up to me and told me the idea of an assumption and the idea of Rome, I would be like, that sounds cool, but kind of too good to be true. Show them the website. Give them withrome.com, right? Just Google with Rome assumption, with Rome mortgages. There are many news stories with the owner. Our CEO is on the news. He's on Fox News. He's on MSNBC mornings. He's on all these different shows. But it'll build their confidence and then explain what an assumption is for them. So it'll help. And then these are always the fun ones, right? These are like just some general tips and kind of best practices to working with us and your buyer. I think for you, I think for the agents, really like the general tips are the best thing to focus on in this process, right? Like Rome, like our numbers on our website are very accurate, usually within like 0.1 of the decimal point. But the source of truth for any mortgage is the most current mortgage statement, right? So if in the process and you're talking to that listing agent and they seem open to the assumption, I would ask them for a copy of the mortgage statement, something like that, or at least to confirm like a few things for you. That way, that's up to this month. You know every single thing going on with that mortgage. You know if there's any extra liens that can't be seen, that you see every piece of information. So getting the mortgage statement earlier than later in any transaction usually helps. A great thing, and this is only in Texas, okay? So anywhere else, don't hold me to this. Within 7 days of you making the assumption offer, the agent, the owner actually have to provide you with a mortgage statement, and it's actually in the assumption contract that way. And then you also have the ability to view that. And if there's like a crazy high HOA or there's something that the buyer doesn't like, you would still have the ability to step back. So it's kind of nice in Texas. They have some more protections versus other states. Let's see. And then just to make it as smooth as possible, right? And this is just key for, I mean, most transactions, I'm sure you would want this as well. Just keep us in the loop, right? When you extend the offer, CC me on it, and then I'll know, perfect, it went out. If I haven't talked to the listing agent, I'll call them for you probably within 6 hours of that offer going out, right? And then once the offer is accepted, it's critical that I know, or that I get a copy of that contract ASAP, because I don't even want to lose 1 day in this kind of transaction, right? Once it's signed, we're just going to email it to me. I'll give it a once over, have one advisor take a look, and then we're going to go ahead and launch that, the request for assumption. And so but we want to do that like within hours of that being signed, if possible, right? So we're trying to move as quickly as possible. And then please, and this is even after this phone call, everyone on this phone call, and even your friends that you talk to, if you have questions on assumptions, do not Google it. That is outdated information already, I guarantee it, right? Feel free to you can text me, you can email me, you can call me, whatever you need. But we have been doing this for 2 years. We know how this works, right? So feel free to just use us as your source of truth for any kind of assumptions out there. All right. I think we got everything in there. Any questions so far?
Yes, you also help them, let's say the house they want to assume it for 200,000, but there's 100,000 gap because they're asking 300,000.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I don't want Roman to take full credit, but we do have an excellent partner. So their name is Spring EQ. And what they essentially do down payment assistance, right? Or any kind of loans that can help that out. And so if I believe like their minimum to loan out is like 35,000, and then it goes in, and it goes up. I believe that the interest rate I think like for a well-qualified buyer, their interest rate starts at about 7.5%, something like that. So it will be, it'll be a little higher because they're taking out like 2 loans at once, essentially. But yeah, they can, like, Spring has helped many of our buyers like to get those down payments. When you all get a chance to actually look at the listing like map and really take a look at these, you'll notice that all the down payments, and thank you for bringing this up, by the way, the down payments do range, right? There's going to be a $3,000 down payment, and then there's going to be a $330,000 down payment, like right next to it in the listings, right? The down payment with an assumption is really just the equity that the seller has in the home, how much they've paid off already, right? And so if they've had it for a long time, that number can get real high, or if they just paid off a lot. But if they haven't, then it can be very low. So depending on where that falls, the buyer would have to have the entire down payment on the day of closing. So either cash or financed, some way. But that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't know how I skipped over that. Appreciate that. And we can essentially, like, I would send the buyer like a text with like the Rome team link to Spring. They would click it, fill out some basic financial information, and then they should get a phone call within 24 hours from Spring.
What's the name of that company? Spring?
Spring EQ, like the initials EQ at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this screen's probably very similar to what you tell your buyers right now, guys. Like, right. This is just preparing for the assumption, like because people want to know, what can I do to be ready for the assumption, right? So I can get this going. Same thing as usual, right? Do not make any huge purchases. Don't try to buy a car and then also do this, maybe like a few days later. The other thing would be, unfortunately, it's still this process is still very paperwork driven, right? So we have to request the paperwork from the loan company, and then a lot of times, unfortunately, it'll be manual, right? They literally have to get pen and paper, and they are filling some things out here and signing some things. It's extremely important that as soon as we get this assumption packet, once the offer has been accepted and we request the packet, once the buyer receives it, that they complete that ASAP. Within 24 hours would be great. and then we would, and then get it, then we're going to get it back, give it a once over, and then submit that guy. But that's going to be key, is like completing anything that for the assumption in a very timely manner, and then submitting that to either ourselves or directly to the mortgage company, depending on the servicer. And then, another thing too is that we are gonna, like, just so you know, with Rome, right? As soon as we know who that servicer is, we're gonna prep the buyer. We go ahead and shoot them an email and says, get these like 10 documents in order, get these 7 documents in order, because this company usually requests them. Then we confirm it once once it's been sent to us, and then but then we try to get them ready as soon, or we try to get them like pre-ready as soon as possible with all the documents. And that way too, hey, I have no idea or I don't know how to get my bank statements. I don't know how to pull my rental and mortgage payment history. No problem. You have days to do it now. It's not like we're waiting. So, but if they can do it in advance, that's what we want for them. So we're always trying to stay a step ahead of the game, or know what the services are always going to want. Yeah, and so that was pretty much it on the buyer side. Any questions as far as like how we help buyers, or like what that process is on this side of it?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so if I have a buyer, they're in a lease, and the lease, how do you help them from that, like where they are time-wise with their lease, to being able to get a pre-approval to assume a loan? You have something like that in place, or the buyer just needs to actually go through someone else to try to get them pre-approved?
So yeah, so for now, right, we are working on maybe a way to do it, a way to like actually do it like for them, or have a certain partner who will run the assumption numbers, like at 2.5% or at 3.3%. But for now, we just have them get like a general pre-qualification, right? So they can use their bank, they can use like Rocket Mortgage, something like that. And it's more for them to kind of like get their, to get everything in order, for us to see that and make sure that they're in the right range at least, but there isn't a way to get them pre-qualified specifically like with the servicer, for instance, or at that interest rate. We're working with a partnership. We're trying to find someone to do that for us right now, but we don't have that set up yet.
Okay, yeah, because I have a couple of clients, they're leasing, and they want to be ready to purchase when their lease is up. So I
Okay.
just trying to get them ready is important.
So let me put in a plug now. Rocket has if they register with Rocket, so they could come through me with Loan Factory. I can register them with Rocket. Rocket has a free credit repair program. Totally free to get them ready for a mortgage.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good program to know about. I might get that from you. I got a couple buyers that we might need that actually. So yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Awesome. Yeah. But and then just to, we can obviously, any kind of questions we can definitely field them, but feel free, like at any point, again, like after this presentation, or if it comes up down the road, like give me a ring about an assumption question. If you have a home that you think might be assumable that you're going to list, but you just want to make sure, I can always check these things, right? Like I can pull up mortgage information. I can kind of double check a few things on our side. But we really, Rome is here to help you guys in any way possible. Listing side, we'd love to get your listing to a whole new pool of people who can afford to make that transaction happen with an assumption. And then on the buyer side, right? Like, hey, we will take care of any and all buyers that you refer to us. I personally will be the one that takes them in Texas, and I can guarantee it that I will help them through this and try to get it done, and as quickly, 45 days or less, really. Anything else that you're just curious about with like Rome, the assumptions, anything like that right now? All right. No worries. Well, hey, I really do. I appreciate the time. Thank you very much, ladies, and thank you for letting me come here and and be able to like just educate you a little bit about assumptions and talk about Rome. But anything you guys need in the future, feel free to just let me know. I would, and even like maybe doing another training or something like this again down the road, I would be totally open to that. Would love to.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
And can we just get his contact information? That way I can reach out to you after this is over.
100%. Yeah. Where can I? I can probably just post that in here too.
Thank you.
Of course.
So I should be expecting a check soon, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna say you have a great, like you're like going through it like just like the perfect timing for this training too. It's kind of funny, but yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
like I really appreciate that. And I know that you had a couple different offers come at you too. I know the one. Yeah, I'm glad that you picked this one. I'll just say that.
yeah, yeah.
All right, and then I will post my information right here for you. And this is like a cell phone number, so feel free to you can text, call, whatever works for you.
I don't see anything on the screen, but so you
Oh,
just say what your number is, Josh,
okay,
while
you
it's
know what?
recording.
It's going to be 678-563-1455.
Oh yeah, that's the number I just text you at.
Yeah, totally. Yep. And then let me put my email in here for you as well. And it's pretty basic. It's just josh@withrome.com. And then I would encourage it, check out withrome.com, by the way. It's definitely worth it. It's super like, I think it's very like, it's still like a newer website, right? But I think our map is very key. Like if you have any buyers that are struggling to make a purchase, or they're just like, oh, I'm waiting for the right time, I want the interest rates to go down, show them that map. It's like the interest rates are automatically down, like they're right there in front of them. So it's a great way to like, even someone like, we have a lot of buyers who like that VA thing changed, right? The VA used to have a residency requirement and it doesn't anymore. And when we told a bunch of investors about it, they were super excited, got them, off their couch and into the market again for sure. So
Mhm.
this is a great tool to use.
So I have a client who says her house is assumable, her mortgage is assumable,
Mm.
but I don't think it's VA or FHA. I think they did a conventional.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I would love to look into this for you because I have heard about these mythical conventional, these regular loans, these non-VA, non-FHA loans that are assumable. And from what I've heard, right, that it's possible. It is possible because they would have to have written some kind of special clause into their mortgage from the very beginning. But I have never seen one. Every single time that I've heard of this story, I look at it or we get it and it just doesn't work out. But I know it's possible, right? I would tell you that it's very, very, very low percentage of them out there. But like I could take a look at that. If you could give me her mortgage statement, I could probably confirm it via the mortgage statement pretty easily. But yeah, it's kind of like the unicorn in the assumption world, this conventional loan that you can do, but I have never seen one. And it's been, I mean, 2.5 years and I haven't seen one come across yet. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I just requested it from her and so we'll see. When I get it, I'll forward it on to you and we can look into that. That's
Only
the
because
house. That's this house right here, actually.
oh, nice. Yeah, perfect. Well, I do like that pool. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's nice. I'm out here in Arizona where it's like 100 still, so that looks great to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But see, and because this is on record, because this is all recorded, it's totally going to be the first conventional loan that was ever assumable that I worked. I guarantee it. So
All
I hope
right,
so.
all right. Get it on record.
There you go.
Well,
All
thank you,
right.
Josh. I enjoy you. Thank you for getting up so early and meeting with us today, too. I know it's a Saturday and it's what, 7 a.m. where you are?
Oh yeah, it's not nice and early, but the coffee helps, and my 2-year-old gets me up nice and early, so don't even worry about it. I
Oh,
appreciate it. Hey, you can invite me as early as possible. Don't even worry about it.
all right. Well,
All right.
thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Hey, you guys have a great one. Have a great weekend.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye-bye.